When it comes to cult classic games that I keep dreaming about in my sleep, nothing has been haunting me more than Slay the Spire. So much so that this is the first game review I've made in 6 months, so that has to mean something. This is one of those games that you just keep thinking about, even when you aren't playing it. After seeing it on the Steam homepage under the section of games that make you want to single-handedly destroy nature and burn down rainforests worldwide because of stupid 3-armed plants, I finally gave Slay the Spire a try earlier this year, and now I'm 100 plus hours into it. And let me tell you, if you like card games or you hate card games, nobody cares, because Slay the Spire is an absolutely awesome game that borders on, I'm gonna say it, perfection. In fact, this is one of the only games that I've played recently where I genuinely have zero complaints about it. With a download size that's probably smaller than the one of this stupid skin in Call of Duty, it doesn't take up much space on your system, and the price of the entire game is somehow still less than that very same stupid skin in Call of Duty. At the low price of just $24.99, Slay the Spire is a must-buy for anyone interested in gaming in general. It doesn't matter if you usually play FPS games, RPGs, or weird anime games. This game has truly captured the minds and hearts of everyone I know that's played it. I genuinely believe that it's a must-play for anyone and everyone. So now, let's dive into why Slay the Spire is so awesome. But what's going on here anyways, and why does gameplay that looks this unexciting at first glance do such a good job at being exhilarating? Well, let's start with the concept. Slay the Spire is a deck-building roguelike card game where your goal is to progress through increasingly difficult levels, called acts, to fight randomly chosen bosses, using a deck of cards and relics that you pick up along the way. You have to manage your health, your deck, and your money while picking which paths you want to go down to have the highest chance of survival so that you can continue on your run, unlock more items and cards, get stronger, and repeat the process. See these lines? These are the paths that you can take, and when you get to the top, there are super hard bosses that you have to fight in order to progress through to the next act. Each of these spots shown on this map is a different type of room. There are 7 types, and your goal is to take a look at what options you have, compare the amount of risk you want to take with your character's strengths and the amount of health you still have, and choose so that you can get as far as possible without dying. But don't worry, you will die, probably almost every single time, but somehow you keep coming back and you keep trying. You have the true warrior spirit. The first symbol that you'll encounter in every single act is an enemy. These are combat rooms where you battle hostile creatures. If you get hurt or are struggling with your cards, the campfire symbol is a rest site that will be your best friend. Here, you can heal a percentage of your health points back or use the forge to upgrade any card in your deck. The money bag is the merchant, where you can stop in to spend your gold coins on expanding your deck, removing cards, because sometimes there are ones that really screw you over, or buying relics and potions. The treasure chest marks, you guessed it, rooms where you stop for a second and take a Xanax to ease the pain of this beautifully painful game, and of course, get some loot. The big monster symbols along the branches are elites, which are big fellas that if you beat, will earn you a relic for completing. Relics are buffs and sometimes debuffs that can completely make or break your entire run, but calm down buddy, we'll get to those in a minute. Scattered throughout the paths that you take are question marks that stand for unknown locations. These can be anything from another fight, a Xanax treasure room, a merchant, or one of several randomized events that can hurt, harm, or just leave you confused. At the top of each act, the branches will bring you back to a campfire for one final rest or upgrade before the ultimate boss battle. If you win this, your HP regenerates and you move on to the next act. So basically, it's the exact same concept as pretty much any other roguelike card game. But Slay the Spire is different and does everything so well that it almost becomes a genre of game in and of itself. In fact, this game's simplicity is one of the things that make it so awesome. It's so replayable that it'll keep you up all night and make it to where you need a good night's sleep to wake up and play it again the next day. That's why, before I go any further, I want to take a second to thank the sponsor of today's video, Manta Sleep. Manta Sleep makes some of the best, most comfortable, high-quality sleep masks on the market, and these things have me sleeping like a baby. They have these contoured eye cups that wrap around your eyes and block out so much light that I feel like I teleport to another dimension. I literally slept the entirety of a 9-hour flight a few weeks ago with these things on, and for me, that's pretty rare. Manta has quite a few options, including the one I have, the Manta Sleep Pro, masks with speakers in them, weighted masks, silk masks, and so many others. If you're looking to improve your sleep and feel better, or to get a solid gift for a family member around the holidays, check out Manta Sleep by using my link in the description below. It is currently your last chance to get these things on sale in 2025 from December 23rd to 31st, so now is a great time. Plus, you can use code robokast to get 10% off your order. Thanks again to Manta for sponsoring this video, and let's get into Slay the Spire in more depth. So you start out your run by picking one of 4 classes. You heard that right. In a genre where character selection is one of the biggest parts of the entire experience, you only have 4 options, 2 of which you unlock later in the game. Comparing this to the class or character selection in other popular roguelikes, it's actually insane how minuscule this selection is. In Risk of Rain, you can pick from 12 different survivors. In Binding of Isaac, you can pick from 34 characters, and in Darkest Dungeon, which is probably the closest comparison to Slay the Spire that I can think of, you have 16 different classes to choose from. In most of these games, the reason they're so replayable is because of the differing combinations of classes and abilities and how each of these combos affects your experience. But with only 4 classes in Slay the Spire, this game is somehow even more replayable than all of the others combined. Because rather than spending your time trying to learn the meta of each and every class and how that class interacts with the mechanics and the lore and the proper combination of variables you need to do to maximize your strategy, you can just focus on the thrill of the unique card game itself. There are hundreds of cards in this game, and many of them, especially when you consider how they can be upgraded or played with relics that enhance their abilities, can completely change your strategy and make the game feel different every single time. It's fun, and the fact that this game allows you to focus so heavily on the cards themselves is something that really makes it stand out, and make it not feel as if it's filled with a bunch of fluff like many other card games are. Like, I love Darkest Dungeon, but what in the gosh darn heck is going on here, and what are all these menus? What am I playing, The Sims? Slay the Spire keeps it simple, and that's why I love this game. Even if you don't like card games, there is a chance that Slay the Spire will scratch that itch that you didn't even know you had, because you're not bogged down with unnecessary mechanics. You play your cards, whether you choose to attack, give yourself a buff, give your enemy a debuff, or defend yourself from an upcoming attack. Then, the enemy just does their thing as soon as you end your turn. You'll see an icon over the enemy's head that gives you an idea of what they're going to do, which allows you to know how to counter it and stay fighting for as long as possible. It's cool because you never even see a single card that's played against you. The game only reveals the intention of the hostile that you're in combat with through these symbols. Likewise, any debuffs or defenses that you or the enemy have are marked by these rows beneath the health bars. The game is so tablet kid friendly that it even adjusts the points on your cards based on the buffs or debuffs that you currently have active. For Strengthened, your cards will automatically get stronger, and Weakened will cause them to, well, weaken. Again, what I love so much about this game is the fact that the entire thing is designed to be extremely accessible, and it brings out the strengths of the card-based battle mechanics without getting bogged down, and it makes it awesome. So the deck of cards itself is split into 5 different types that you continue to gather over time. You initially start with basic attack and skill cards. Attack cards mostly speak for themselves and perform ouchies against the enemies. Skill cards focus primarily on blocking so that you can continue to survive and suffer through the meaninglessness of it all, but they can also be used for other various actions that could be beneficial to you. For example, this little thingy right here is your energy meter, and each card costs a specific amount of energy to play, so there could be some special ones that do damage and cost 0 energy to use, or some that draw another card for you when you play them. The skill cards change quite a bit, but the general idea is that you want to balance your defense against the amount of damage that the enemies are inflicting on you, and your attack against the amount of defense that the enemies have. There is a lot of depth to these 2 types of cards alone, and as I said before, there are hundreds of potential cards in this game, so I'll save the excitement of all of this for you when you go to play the game. But for now, there is one other main card type that I need to discuss, called power cards. These cards are used to upgrade a power for the entirety of your battle. For example, there are some cards that have the word exhaust on them, which effectively means that once you use them, now you can't use them anymore until the next battle. Well, power cards can be used to make this less harsh and to, for example, give you some extra block every time you exhaust a card. Now, once you play it, every card you exhaust for the rest of the battle will keep adding to your block number every single time. And there's a lot more options that really change every single run and every single battle to keep the game interesting and, well, awesome. Now, there's two types of other cards, curse cards and status cards. Unlike the previous ones, these aren't cards that you want to keep adding to your deck as you win battles and build your deck. No, 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 my friends, these guys are no bueno. Status cards are what you get when your enemies don't like you very much, and they're unplayable cards that do nothing but hurt you. For example, if this guy attacks you, you have a chance to get a burn card, which is unplayable and damages you when it's in your hand. This guy can make you slimed, which stays in your deck until you waste 1 energy to exhaust it, decreasing the amount of damage you can do and making the battles go on to eternity. You can remove these by visiting the merchant if he appears on your run and you have extra money, but if not, they're going to stick around for the long run. And finally, there are curse cards. These are more rare and provide a permanent negative effect, like giving damage or providing debuffs. Usually, you get these from negative question mark events or from obtaining a relic that has a downside, but you have to think about these as well because they can easily sneak up on you. And that's the basic idea of the types of cards. You want to focus on building the best possible deck to fit your character and your playstyle, and remember what you have in that deck so that you can strategize to defeat the increasingly difficult bosses. Now, each character does have different cards to choose from because they all have different abilities, so cards are already character specific. However, you need to remember what you have in your deck because if you don't, you'll be like me and you'll keep losing out of nowhere because you forget that you had a better option. I know, this sounds like a lot, and it sounds like a stressful game that you'd play once and never touch again. Trust me, that's exactly what I thought initially. But somehow, what makes other games tedious only makes Slay the Spire greater. You can find yourself with no energy, great plays about to get swept up into the discard pile, and still furiously determined after death to return for vengeance in another run. You might also have to keep from slamming your keyboard to pieces because you don't know how to read, and instead of playing a card that would have killed the enemy, you play a card that does absolutely nothing. Yippee. And as aggravating as that is, it just intensifies the rush of winning each round of combat, and the allure of finally, barely, just beating the Act 1 boss after losing what felt like 50 times in a 4-hour span. There are so many techniques to succeed in this game, and each and every move that you make can determine your fate for the next few rounds. There's still so much that can be said about the specifics of the relics, potions, and using card buffs to cheat the energy system, but that's a hit of dopamine for each player to figure out on their own runs. And trust me, I mean it when I say, Slay the Spire is a must-play and you won't be disappointed. What has your experience been with Slay the Spire? Is it addictive as I claim, or do I just have bad taste in games? Are there any other games that you think did it better? Drop your comments below and leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed. I will see you guys next time, and peace.